I'm bringing you guys a presentation today on the traditional Japanese Noh theater. Noh is a stylistic form of musical drama performed with narration and elaborate masks. Noh was designated by UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, as one of the masterpieces of the oral and tangible heritage of humanity. Noh, in its broadest sense, includes Kyogen farces, comic theater interspersed within the longer, slower moving Noh play. Noh was developed in the form we know it today in the 14th century, making it one of the oldest theater traditions that are still around, virtually unchanged. Noh and Kyogen are in many ways exact opposites, which is interesting because they essentially develop together. While Noh focuses more on symbolic and ritualistic themes, Kyogen focuses more on entertaining the audience and making sure people stay awake as the Noh play lasts nearly all day. Noh employs prose, choral singing, and dance in order to fully depict themes including life and death, drama and illusion, and Zen Buddhist spirituality. Noh has its roots in mime, acrobatics, sarugaku, which directly translates to monkey music, a dance drama linked to farming from the early Heian period, 794 to 1185. Performers came from the lower classes and served as entertainers to the higher class in hopes of a better position in the end of the world, as the people that were these entertainers were living under the feudal system, which meant that you were either born a noble or you were born a commoner, and that essentially depicted the rest of your life. And it often turned out that these plays were directed for the noble class, as the noble class had a majority of the wealth and were willing to pay for the plays, while the commoners were working all day in the fields trying to make enough food to survive, essentially. Some suggest Noh also grew out of the Japanese form of gagaku, a form of comical silent drama where actors wear a variety of different masks along with musical accompaniment, which is eerily similar to that of Noh. In 752, a ceremony was held in order to celebrate a new Buddha statue in Nara. A gagaku play was performed, and this is another reason why they think it was so linked to Noh, is because of the spirituality this play held and the fact that it was performed in times of religious celebration or in times of spirituality. Gagaku is thought to have originated in the Wu Kingdom of ancient China and was introduced to Japan by the Peiche Kingdom. Noh was also, a very early form of Noh was also performed in Nara in AD 869 during another Buddhist Shuni ceremony. Noh was traditionally performed at Buddhist temples, and the use of masks and frequent appearance of ghosts is based on the fact that at the time Noh was divided into Japan was divided into several factions, and which were essentially in a perpetual state of warfare. Families were killing families, brothers were killing brothers. It was a time to remember the people of the past, so that the idea of ghosts and the idea of spirits became apparent in Noh plays. Noh as we know it today, as I said earlier, settled into the form within 14th century. The primary developers of the Noh was the playwright Kanami, who lived from 1333 to 1384, and his son Zimi, who lived from 1363 to 1443. The first of the two Noh performances was performed by 12-year-old Zinemi and Kanami, dancing sarugaku in front of the 18-year-old shogun Ashigaga Yoshimitsu in 1374 in Kyoto. Using the patronage of the shogun, they were able to fully develop Noh using several other performing arts, poetry, classical themes, and current themes of the time. According to Japan's Ministry of Arts and Foreign Affairs, in the early 14th century, acting troupes were touring and performing in temples, shrines, and festivals. The brilliant playwrights and actor Kanami and his son Zimi transformed sarugaku into Noh in basically the same form as it is performed today. Noh became the official art form of the samurai class and enjoyed by Japanese figures such as Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi, very prominent historical figures in Japan history. Following the fall of the Muromachi shogunate, Noh received more patronage from the ruling class, from military leader Toyotomi Hideyoshi. And in the 17th century, Noh became official property of the Tokugawa shogunate. During the Edo period, which was the years 1603 to 1868, a No performance could take up to an entire day to perform. Themes often were heavily based on samurai ideals, that the samurais were the ones paying the actors, and these revolved around honor, duty, revenge, and Zen austerity. During the same period, No continued to be the art of the samurai. However, in the new culture, some commoners began to become its patrons as the feudal system was dying out and commoners were becoming more wealthy, and people were able to sort of become nobility without actually having to be born into a noble family. The feudal ward was no more at the beginning of the Meiji period, between 1868 and 1912, and No lost all of its original patronage. If No was not regarded as fashionable, as the Western influences brought theater forms from the Americas, from the UK. These trading partners brought their own cultural, traditional theaters to Japan, and these were seen as more fashionable at the time, as Japan was westernizing. And due to the support of the imperial family, No did not completely die out. Small plays were performed here and there, and luckily the art form was continued through this era. Since World War II, No has been completely dependent on the public for its survival. It's no longer based on the patronage of imperial families or wealthy families. It's now completely based on performing for the public. Now that I've gotten through cultural contextualizers, I'd like to mention my theater convention and sort of explain what I chose and why I chose it. My theater convention was the archetype of the Hanya and the way the mask and the body work together to present a message through the movements and the actions of the character of the Hanya. Specifically, I wanted to go into this because the Hanya is different than other No characters, as the discipline seems to be less there, as the woman who the evil spirit is attempts to seek revenge or feel an overarching amount of emotion. And to personally explore this, I wanted to do extensive amount of reading, especially with the book On the Art of the No Drama. And I took it and I spent the summer just reading through it, and what really helped me in my physical exploration was the act of simply moving. The act of moving and knowing where I want to move and then moving. The act of putting emotion into my movements without losing control of my movements. And the idea that different hand movements, different body language tells a different story. The mask and movements used in many No plays, the Hanya is one of the most recognizable characters, as it sort of, as I said earlier, differs from the rest. It portrays the soul of a woman who has become a demon due to an extensive obsession with or jealousy with another person, family, so on and so forth. And the movements are so recognizable because the movements of the character wearing the mask must be demonic or dangerous, while also portraying a sense of sorrow and torment. All four of these are very strong emotions in the human body, why the movements appear to be quicker or less disciplined, if that makes sense. But in looking less disciplined, it actually requires more discipline because you have to fake a craze or a emotional overpowering. So I took the role. I'd like to show you the mask as I perform this, as I don't have one on hand. There's a mask. All right. All right, thank you. As you can see, the movements of the character are slow and methodical, and yet also extremely quick as well. There's lashes out of emotion, as if the woman is attempting to hold back, but she fails ultimately, and she lashes out irrationally, or maybe not irrationally, but emotionally. And personally, that involved the discipline and the movement that No requires, because it's about expressing that lack of control with control. it's extremely No, if that makes sense. And the impact on me was the movement and really understanding the importance of body language when working with my peers, when attempting to perform for my solo or collaborative project. I'm going to take this valuable information that my arm out here or my arm on my chest makes a difference to how I'm portrayed by the audience, and ultimately makes a difference in how I connect with the audience. And this piece of this play, the No theater tradition, specifically connects to the Victorian melodrama. The archetypes within No and the archetypes within the Victorian melodrama are extremely similar. The shite and the hero, the Hanya, or the evil spirit and the antagonist. And it's interesting to see this connection, because these same archetypes are also prevalent in Victorian melodrama. The idea of a hero coming to rescue, or the idea of an antagonist or somebody working against the hero. And also, oftentimes Victorian melodrama is very focused on the words or the language portrayed by the actor, when oftentimes words aren't necessarily the best language to use to portray your emotion. Oftentimes body language is used and needed to portray a certain emotion or a certain feeling, and it's sort of that for Victorian melodrama, movement could be transferred from No to Victorian melodrama and perfect the art of Victorian melodrama, and then the idea of the written history as well. Thank you.